Have you ever had the experience where you're just going about your day and you turn and all of a sudden there's something that scares you to your core? Your mouth dries up and you can barely swallow. It happened to me. The path is gone. Where did it go? I look around for a while, but I can't seem to find it. If anything was wrong, it's right now. There are trees and rocks and sounds screeching through my ears, but no stars. Not in this forest of memories laced with heaviness of my mind as I recall the last things I said to another person. I'm lost in my thoughts, but see a small light through the branches and leaves that seem moistened by the mist, but my mouth is as dry as a bone. I felt this before. The feeling of dread as I walked to throw out the trash and I started to come back home, but was met with a dog, white as snow, but fierce as a storm brooding in the sky. He snarled. I could see his breath and it lifted into the cold night air, breathing, but still as a statue I once saw in my aunt's apartment building on the 3rd floor landing. The stairs led us to the rooftop where we would sit and listen to the nearby stadium as the teams took to the field, met with the applause and praise for their efforts they were about to make. Is that a strange concept? Being applauded before you have made the effort, and yet it seems oddly comforting. Understanding that you may fail in your pursuit but still have the admiration of the people who desperately want you to succeed, that they have made your ambition their own success. I was younger then, but I always am as I stumble through my thoughts trying to grasp the situation, a past memory to comfort my mind in these types of situations. The situations that bring out the best, or some might say the worst, of my unusual responses to the world around me as I sit thinking of a fonder time. A time when I would run with friends through the woods around our house and roll down the big hill that was just around the corner. I had friends back then, many, but now I sit alone in these woods looking for a path to take me away from here. Far in the distance, I can hear the laughter of those people I once knew but are now just a memory, flopping around somewhere I cannot grasp as I continue to feel my way around in the darkness. Not total darkness, like when you look into the bright light and then switch it off suddenly. Your eyes try to hold on to the memory of the light as if it was still there, but it isn't, and soon your eyes can no longer hold on to it as it slowly fades, but you remain still and quiet and hopeful. Then out of nowhere, there is a stirring. Not from me, but I can't quite make it out. Are you here? Is that you? Or did you leave me like all of them? Was it really them who left? Or was it me who refused to hold on to them and let them slip into the back of my mind as I went along my daily life? But you, I'm gonna hold on to you. It will be different this time. We'll stick together, like the book that is bound with a spiral staircase leading under the floor into the ground, so deep that there seems to be no end in sight, but there is, I promise. And it's a wonderful end. So wonderful that you can hardly imagine it, but I can. I've seen this place before. Here we can sit and talk and just be. Don't worry, this place is safe for us. We can remember the past without the fear of regret on the troubles that sneak up on us in this real world. Here we listen to stories and imagine what things could be like if we would just learn to let go and create our own little corner of something much bigger than what we can even imagine. Something much bigger than we have ever seen before. It's like a blindfold fell off and our senses are overwhelmed, like electricity running through our veins and leaking out into the small openings of the sink we've created with our own mind. Not for long, and then we're back to our life, walking around unaware of the things we have forgotten and things we will soon forget. There is a last time for everything after all. A last time to sing, a last time to dance, and for us, a last time to say hello, as I will never leave you again. Not in these woods. Not on this path. Not in my mind. I found it. The familiar clearing of a path leading out of this place. Hurry, it's this way. We're almost out. Don't get distracted by the twisted sense of a tale. Keep your head down and keep moving. I can see it. I can see the way out. Wait, is that the house? My mouth is still dry. So welcome to the after party. Let me explain some things here. In case you've missed it, the first 3 episodes are actually done in one video. It's on the playlist in the Twisted Sense Tales podcast. You have to go to podcasts to look for it on the channel. Now, this one was the first one that I did since those three, and this is a little bit of a different format. I mean, I reformatted those to make them match this one. But this is a little bit different where I did not just go off the top of my head. I actually I wrote down my script. The script itself was in stream of consciousness. I just kind of wrote and just kept writing. But I did write it down so that I could read it a little bit clearer in sections on the video and didn't seem so disjointed. Usually when I read something, it sounds very disjointed, but for some reason this story, I can read it and it sounds better versus just going off the top of my head and just telling you everything as I'm thinking about it, because then everything sounds staggered and awkward when I say it, and I didn't want to do that. So I actually wrote it down, and I'm reading from a script on that particular thing. This part of the video, obviously, I'm not reading anything. I'm talking to you. So I have the script up in front of me here because I want to talk about it. There are so many things in this episode that are real things that actually happened to me, and I know exactly where they came from going through the script and looking at it, and I can tell you. I'm going to explore some of those things and tell you a little bit about them. So let's talk about the first thing, and that is, where is the thing? Okay, so the whole thing, and the whole beginning part of this is a true story. I was probably 7, 8 years old, and I was going to throw out the garbage in my development. I was in a condo area. I've talked about it before. And especially if you watch those other 3 episodes, you'll see I talk about that a lot. That period in my life was just very big for me. I don't know what that was, but it was just a very big time in my life. I was 6, 7, 8, 9 years old, I think, up to 10 maybe in that area. So from 6 to 9 or 6 to 10, somewhere around there. And it was just something that I remember so much about. So I remember going to throw the garbage away. I had to walk across the parking lot, and at the corner of the parking lot, there was a big dumpster, and it was kind of like a center island, and there was a dumpster there. And then people would come off the main stretch and then pull in, and there'd be all the parking for the cars. And then in that middle island where you'd pull in, there's a dumpster. So I'd walk out there and go throw the garbage out. And we had 2 loose dogs in the neighborhood. And they would just come around. It was a black dog and a white dog. They were the size of labs, but they weren't labs. They almost looked like the small Eskimo dogs, but the size of labs. It was I remember them very clearly because they terrified me every day, at least while they were around. It probably wasn't for very long. It's probably just a few months or so that they were around. But anyway, they were loose in the neighborhood. And there was a lot of people who, they wouldn't empty the trash all the time. So when the dumpster gets full, people just throw it on the side of the trash. And here come these stray dogs. And of course, they're going through the garbage. I did feel bad for them later, not at the time. I was just terrified at the time. But I remember throwing it out, and I'm walking back, and the white dog runs in between me and my house. The black dog I didn't see. It was down further. It came later. But I remember just freezing, and I didn't want to move. And the thing was snarling and barking at me. And of course, when you're that young, that dog is a lot bigger. But it paralyzed me. I remember my mouth got so dry I couldn't even swallow. That was a real statement. That really happened to me. I was really looking at that dog, and it terrified me to no end. And my stepfather, of course, came outside. He saw me out there, and he came outside, and he told me that he was trying to make me not afraid of the dog. However, I was terrified of the dog. So he said, "Come over here." And it's the first time, I think at that age, that I actually said no to him. I said no. And he, of course, he got upset and yelled at me anyway to get back over to him. And I eventually made my way there. But those dogs were following me as I went. They just keep going to bark at me and try and get a little bit closer as I moved away. And he came over and swatted them or something with a paper or something he had. I don't know. And they took off. So that's fine. But anyway, I remember that very clearly. Let's go to the next thing. So my great aunt had an apartment building in Queens in New York City. Or some people don't consider Queens the city. I consider Queens the city. Anyway, it was a small apartment building that my great uncle had left to her before he passed. And that was the only thing they owned, was that building. But it was that's significant. It was a building in the city. That's pretty. It was like 4 or 5 apartments on it. It wasn't very big. it was like each floor had its own apartment or something. And I remember on top, it was close to Shea Stadium. So we would go on top and we would set up some chairs and sit and listen to the game at Shea Stadium. We'd put a little radio out, but you can hear the crowd, you can hear the hit of the ball, and it was that close. So it was a great time. We all had fun up there. It wasn't all the time. I did not live in Queens, so it was whenever we'd travel there, we'd make sure it was a game day or something if we could during the season, and we'd be up on the roof listening to the game. It was fun. It was fun. But she had all these old statues all over the floor landings or whatever. Old Italian, I guess some of them, I don't remember them. I remember that there were statues everywhere, but I don't remember what they were. They could have been, she could have been, I don't know if she was old Italian Catholic. She could have been little saint statues all over the place. But I just remember there were statues all on each floor landing as you went up. Before you got to the apartments, there were these statues. They weren't very big, maybe like 3 feet tall or whatever, but they were on almost every floor that I remember. Again, this is when I'm a kid. Maybe I'm remembering wrong. Memories are not perfect things, but I remember those statues. And I've mentioned in the last video that we talked about the backwoods by the one park there, but right behind my little section of housing there was woods there, and they were not creepy at all. We loved those woods. We lived in those woods. That's where we made the big, it was like, it went up to the back part of the neighborhood, so it was up a hill, and there was a big grass hill next to it, and we used to roll down there and have fun as kids do, and that's all wonderful. But in the woods, we made little paths and would ride our bikes down and make little jumps and things like that, and it was a pretty long stretch for us when we were younger. But anyway, there's a lot of woods, and we loved it in there. We lived in there all the time. We'd always play in the woods there. And I believe in the last part, it was just really about how I think of memories and how I experience them is... of course, you see a lot of the good things, you know, they say through rose-colored glasses and all that kind of stuff, but I just look at it as there were times that were great. There was a section of my childhood that was not great. I will tell you that. It was absolutely miserable. However, the time before that was great. I had a lot of fun at that time. And then the time after that was when I got married, so that was fine too. But that, you know, the middle of my childhood into my teenage years, that was absolutely a nightmare. But everything else was fairly, despite all of the struggles and things that our families went through and all the things happening in our lives at that point in our time, in our life, the things that I remember are those friends that I would play with and things like that. And I can hear them talking. I mean, I can hear the moments that we had clear as day, as if they happened yesterday. But there are many things from then till even now that I don't remember very much. I don't remember some things in my childhood, but other things I do. I mean, I can go back very young, and my first apartment before anything happened with my family, before my parents split up and that kind of thing. And I remember that first apartment, I was only 3-4 years old at most. I think I was 3 years old when I remember those memories. But the thing is, some of the memories are so vivid that I don't understand what makes that happen. Some of them, they were not a big deal. I just remember a certain instance where we were hanging out and playing and doing something. But then the next year of that time, I don't remember really hardly anything in between that year. Maybe if you say, oh, do you remember being in that classroom? I can roughly say, oh yeah, okay, I remember that. I remember that kid. I remember that teacher, whatever. But there's small moments in your life that you remember so vividly, like you just saw it just happened. And yet then other sections you can't remember for the life of you. And it's just funny how your memory works and how things happen. And I think that's just all the end part of that story was about. So I hope you enjoyed the episode. I love doing these. I hope you enjoy listening to them, because I'm going to keep doing them. And I absolutely love doing them. I haven't done them this year yet. I think I did them end of last year, and I said I wanted to do like one a month, but a lot of times things happen. There's only usually like 4 videos a month that I'm doing. So, except for like a giveaway video or something where I pick a winner on a Friday or so, or Thursday, Saturday. Well, you know what day it is. Anyway, it doesn't matter. The thing is, in this particular instance, I enjoy doing these. I want to do at least one a month on the channel so that way I can just continue the story. I like how it's developing. I do enjoy the story. So, for me, it's something interesting because I'm creating it while I'm talking to you, but it's just interesting to me that certain things are popping out at me that I didn't really remember, or I didn't think I was even thinking about until I go to write out this story. And all of a sudden I'm just writing things, and it's all things in my life, which I think is really cool. For me anyway, I think it's interesting. You should try it. Definitely, I recommend doing this no matter what you're doing. Just write like a stream of consciousness thing and try and figure out where it is in your life that you're pulling these things from. I also hope you enjoy the drawing. If you are watching this instead of just listening to this as a podcast and you're watching it, you see the drawing in the background. Hope you enjoyed. I'm going to do little strange things in the background, a little different than some other things I might do normally, and sometimes they might not be. I've been doing some weird stuff lately, so you never know. So I just hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoy these people popping up on the screen here. We're having a good time, we're having fun, and we're soon going to do some live streaming. That's definitely going to happen. So thumb up the video if you are going to keep listening to these stories, because I really do like creating them, and I hope you enjoy listening to them. All right. If you would like to join our community, go to illustrationsbypete.com. You can come in, you can put your own artwork on the site and promote it. You can find some inspiration in the free reference photos. You can just use them however you want in your artwork. You do not need to credit me. Or you can come into the forums and talk to some people and maybe give some advice and maybe find a little bit of information that helps you. So come check us out. All right, that's about it for me. I'm going to go. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.